Hey, it's Patti Scharf, CPA and co-founder of Catching Clouds, the leader in e-commerce accounting. And welcome back to another Saturday Slowdown, where I like to remind everybody to work on their business and not just in their business. All right, today's video is going to be on women in business and particularly self-limiting beliefs. Now, I know that self-limiting beliefs is not unique to women, but I do think that it runs rampant through the female population. So I'm giving a shout out to all my women folk today, and I just want to talk about that. So when I was a kid, just like most little kids do, they just blurt out whatever stupid thing runs through their mind. I was the same. I would just say whatever came to mind. And I had this really strong sense of justice or injustice. So I had a brother who was 3 days short of, I still have a brother, but he's 3 days short of being a year older than me. And he got to run around with all the other boys in the neighborhood with their shirts off in the summer. And why couldn't I do that? Which I figured out since then. But, or they would, they got to be altar boys and I didn't get to be an altar boy, or they got to be in Boy Scouts and I didn't get to be in Boy Scouts, which is super unfair because Boy Scouts is totally achievement based, whereas Girl Scouts, basically you would go up a level every time you went to a new grade in elementary school. It was just really annoying. Anyway, so I was super vocal about all these injustices and things. And my parents would say, Patty, one of these days, your mouth is going to get you into trouble. And I guess from the time I was like 6 till, I don't know, like 39, I really kind of took that to heart. And I learned how to assimilate. And I learned how to not raise my hand in class too often. I learned that I always had more to learn than I had to offer other people. And I learned how other people's opinions and suggestions were almost always more valid than my own, especially if it came with strong conviction from a man. And although I think a lot of people tie self-limiting beliefs to maybe a lack of self-esteem, I really don't think that's it. My parents instilled a really good, strong sense of self-esteem in me. So I kind of know how badass I am. I just purposely fly under the radar. I make myself just small enough to still be good, but not really embrace all the greatness I can be, because that's just a little bit too flamboyant, or it's just not acceptable in society. And I think that's wrong. I think it's just wrong. I think a lot of women have this problem where we're purposely making ourselves small. We're purposely not doing the things that are going to get us noticed because we don't want to be noticed, because that is uncomfortable, because we were taught to not draw attention to ourselves when we were young. So I did that for decades. I kept myself kind of just good, but just kind of flying under the radar. So right as I was approaching 40, I had had a couple of back-to-back like massive failures, and I was starting to just kind of reassess everything in my life, and I was questioning things and trying to look at things from a different angle and just kind of take stock of where I was at. And it was a couple of years after that I read Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg, which I highly recommend if you have not read. And I was just blown away by how many different ways I had been hiding myself or leaning back and pushing myself away from the table instead of really fully embracing it. And so then I started swinging the total other way, where, Scott was like, hey, I think we should go to Red Robin for dinner. And I'm like, no, I do not want to go to Red Robin for dinner. And he was like, okay, we can go somewhere else. And I was just practicing, reclaiming my voice and stuff like that. But seriously, I found it kind of a daily challenge where I was questioning myself and thinking, am I getting into these situations because I'm not using my voice in the proper way? And now I've got a story for you. So I think it was the summer of 2014, Xero had just opened up their office in Denver, which is not too far from where we live. And they invited Scott and me over to the office because they were kind of new there. We got a little tour, and I think it was the marketing department, really wanted to talk to us and say, hey, you guys have been using Xero for a few years and you're, power users. Like, how do we get other accountants to learn about Xero? Because I think once people learn about it, then they love it and embrace it and all that stuff. And so they actually asked this question of Scott and me, and Scott spoke up and he was like, well, you just have to tell them about all the advantages, and you have to tell them why it's secure and everything else. And I was like, I love you, but no, that is not what accountants want to hear. Accountants are naturally averse to change. They're naturally averse to scary new technology and stuff. They don't want to be on the cutting edge. They want to make sure that everything is safe, everything is going to go fine, that it's going to take care of what they need. They're going to adopt it 2 years after mainstream. A lot of them will, because it's just the nature of accountants. We're risk averse. So one of the people there at Xero was like, Patti, since you're an accountant, I would really love to have you speak to some other accountants and tell them about your experiences and things like that, because I think that people would really love to hear from you. And I was like, no. Scott is the speaker. I'm the writer. I'm not going to do that. And we took a break, and I was like, what am I doing? If I want there to be more female leaders in the world, when I am presented with an opportunity, I need to take that, regardless of whether it's comfortable for me or not. What am I is it true that I'm not a speaker? I don't know. I've never spoken before. And maybe that's something that's really suited to me. So we came back from the break, and I was like, you know what? I was thinking about it. I need to be a role model for my daughter. I need to, when presented with an opportunity, I need to be the change I want to see in the world. So yes, I will speak at some point if you want me to. So soon thereafter, they sent me to the Accounting and Financial Women's Alliance conference in New Orleans, and I had my first speaking gig. And I'll tell you, I tripped over my own name. My introduction, I was like, blah, blah. But then it was fine after that. And I found that actually I'm a really good speaker. Who knew? And I've had quite a few more speaking engagements since then. I'm not sure I really want to do the whole speaking circuit thing, but that's not the point. The point is I had to step out of my comfort zone. I had to not just believe in my head whatever narrative I had come up with, which is I'm not a speaker, and go decide for myself. Go try it and find out if I really am a speaker. And I think that that's a big problem with a lot of women, where they've kind of gotten used to whatever narrative they've come up with along the way, and they haven't taken time to take a step back and reassess who they are, what their values are, try something new and things like that. So I think one of the big challenges for raising up women in this day and age and having them become leaders is to give them the opportunity and kind of nudge them along. Give them a little bit of, you can do this, even if you haven't done it before, think about it, try it, you might like it. Here's the other more important thing. The more I speak, the more people listen, and the more people listen, the more comfortable I am speaking up. And with each passing year, I'm more and more comfortable in my skin. I'm more comfortable saying what's on my mind. And I think that that's the change that kind of needs to happen in the United States for sure, but probably worldwide, particularly when it comes to women. It's like when we are comfortable being ourselves and being out there and showing people who we are, it's going to become more acceptable to everybody, that everybody is just saying what they think and getting more comfortable with being who they are. And everybody's voices are going to be easier to rise to the top, I guess. So I want to circle back to the topic of women in business and why there aren't as many women in leadership roles. I think one of the big reasons is that women are simply limiting themselves, that they're not putting themselves out there. Now, I don't think it's the only reason, and that's why I have another video coming next week. I want you to subscribe if you haven't already and click the bell. It's going to be notifying you when my next video comes out. But I think that you can argue that women, it's societally imposed that women aren't in these positions, or it's self-imposed. But I think that both are true. I think there are a lot of different dynamics going on, and you can't simplify this into just one point issue. It's not, the men aren't keeping us down, women. It's just something that we need to be aware of, because when we're aware of, then we can take action and make change. I do think it doesn't really matter what it is that's been limiting us to this point. I think that we have the power to take action and make the world whatever it is we want it to be for ourselves. So that is my soapbox for today. Hopefully the story resonated with you. If it did, or if you have your own story, please leave it down below. I'd love to hear it. This, like I said before, this is one of my my most heartfelt issues. I'm really passionate about this topic. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, please like, comment, and share. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and I'll catch you later.